What's up, guys? I'm Joe. Today I'm talking about the new Screaming Females album, All at Once. So, New Jersey rock band Screaming Females are back with their seventh studio album, All at Once. I gotta say, 2018 has been a really good year for rock music so far. I'm really enjoying a lot of these albums that have come out, and this is certainly one of them. This is a three-piece band, which I always think is a really cool dynamic to have. If you're interested in a very famous three-piece, I just did a video recently on the band Rush. But otherwise, what you have here from this album is just a culmination of so many great aspects of rock music. The band has always really had a kind of alternative indie punk feel to their music in the past, but you see them really expanding their sound on this one, and it all works really well together. I'd say there's not really a bad track on this album. There's elements of classic rock and some grungy sounding material, all of which feature these massive, kind of poppy, catchy hooks. Singer guitar player Marissa Paternoster, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Um, Incredible playing on this record, but also just a very powerful voice. The vocal delivery sells a lot of these songs and just adds this, extra kind of epic feel to them at times. The first song I heard from this one is actually Agnes Martin, the fifth track. It opens with this great guitar riff, very, classic sounding, classic hard rock. Has a really nice groove to it once the bass and the drums kick in. King Mike on the bass, Jared Dougherty on the drums, make an excellent rhythm section and are playing with a lot of dynamics on this record. But Marissa's vocals, once they come in, add this, extra epic side to the song. I find her voice to be really interesting for this kind of sound, this kind of indie, punky kind of stuff. It has a very kind of grandiose feel to it at times. I could easily see her singing in like a metal band, but nonetheless, it works extremely well in this one. Personally, I love when the song just builds and builds and builds to that refrain, The Sun Destroys Me. It's just a great way to kind of ride out the track. And speaking of that kind of build that they do really well on a lot of these, the opening track, Glass House. For an opener, it's interesting because it really, really builds up and builds up before ultimately hitting this huge explosion. It has this sort of driving, anthemic sounding chorus that they ride out for the rest of the song, and it just really gets things off to a great start. The next song's Black Moon and I'll Make You Sorry, bring up the speed a bit. Here you're getting more of that punkier side of the band. The song I'll Make You Sorry in particular is a huge standout for me on here. It has a kind of 80s tinge to the guitar riffs, which I find really cool. And the hook on the chorus is just monumental. I mean, if this was more of a well-known band, which I think they should be, that could be a huge hit. Another absolute favorite for me on here is the song Dirt. I love the sort of noodling guitar and bass sounds of the verses. And Marissa's vocals have this sort of entrancing feel. They sort of rise up as the instrumentation swirls around them in my mind. It just makes for a really great effect. And personally, I like the lyrics on this one. Basically, talking about someone's word being as good as dirt beneath your feet. The song is, not really instrumentally simple, but fairly simple in its structure, kind of verse, chorus kind of thing. It's one that I would be totally fine with going even longer because I really just enjoy it so much. Soft Domination, another great one. I'm a big fan of the very groovy, very kind of sporadic drum beat going on in the verses there, and the song just has, like I said, a great groove, a nice kind of swagger to it. Chamber for Sleep, parts 1 and 2, kind of takes you on this psychedelic journey as the song builds and builds. Part 1 in particular has some really fantastic guitar work from Marissa, and that continues into part 2. It sort of breaks down and gets almost kind of atmospheric, psychedelic, before building back up again. There are some great guitar licks towards the end of this song, some harmonized parts that are going on that sound very, almost Queen-like. It's very classic rock, great energy going on. Overall, like two tracks that work very well, and I like that they sort of fade into each other like that as a part 1 and a part 2. Drop by Drop, another one, even though I guess it's more of like an interlude, it's only a minute long. I really like it. I like the kind of 50s pop vibe to it. And it's a good example of the great bass guitar work you're getting on here as well, something that's prevalent throughout the entire album. The song End of My Bloodline has a nice groovy feel that I think can be attributed to the bass playing. And to go back to the song Black Moon, the bass really carries that thing along. It starts off really strong, and it just really pulls the song along as you go. And finally, the album comes to a close with Step Outside, which starts with this very monumental, fantastic instrumental section before going into a nice driving punk song. Throughout, all sorts of dynamic work going on between the guitar and the bass guitar, the drums as well. Again, these three musicians on here do a really great job of holding the band together. I find trios to be really fascinating, and I think they find very unique ways to play off of each other. And this band certainly does that. So I'm a big fan of this album. I'm feeling a 4.5 out of 5 for it. You're just getting so much variety in the music. It's really just a great rock record, and it's taking bits and pieces from all sorts of eras and putting it together. For example, I think I Miss Bird in Space. It has this very anthemic classic rock feel to it, but all the while, the band just sounds like their own breed of music. They take these sort of influences and they make it all their own, and they add their own twist to things, especially in the instrumentation, the way Marissa's vocals work throughout the album. It just creates a very unique sound. So like I said, a 4.5 out of 5 for this one. Let me know what you think of the album in the comments, whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.